Hello, this is Kristen Brindley with DC Metro Reel Producers. Welcome to our podcast. Hello, this is Kristen Brindley, the publisher of DC Metro Reel Producers. I am here with Colin Junkman Wheeler. Very nice to be here. Thank you.
Happy to have you.
He is a partner of DC Metro Reel Producers. And, go ahead and tell us about your business. So how did you get started in the junk removal business, Colin?
So we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. And about 10 and a half years ago, I was in the moving business as a move consultant. I was the one that people would hire to come in, do a walk around their home, and assess how much it would cost them to move, and whether or not I ultimately ended up winning their business. Something became very clear to me that people didn't want to pay a moving company to get rid of items that they no longer, or to move items that they no longer wish to keep. So I recognized an opportunity and bought an old truck and hung up the suit and tie, as I say, and started hauling junk.
And tell us about that progression. Like, what did you do next?
So it was a very humble beginning. I first reached out to the network that I had, that I hadn't had much time to develop as a 23-year-old, but mostly friends and family and neighbors and people of those sorts. Told them what I was up to and how they could help me, and we literally were doing one job at a time. At the end of every job, we would show up in a beat-up old truck and probably didn't have a clue what we were doing, but we made a great a deal about providing good service, and at the end of every job we asked them to keep their ear to the ground for somebody else who could benefit from our services, and one job led to the next, which led to the next, which led to the next. And then at one point we were doing more than one job in a day, and that was success. That was our first success, I think.
That's amazing. How many people and how many trucks do you have now?
We stay somewhere around 40 employees, either in full-time or heavy part-time capacity. Right now we've got about 14 vehicles in the fleet, and we're very proud that last year in the early 2017 we opened up our second office, which is in Gaithersburg. Our original office is in Chantilly, so those two offices allow us to essentially serve the most of the greater DC area, and it kind of morphed us into more of a regional business.
What does the next year to 5 years look like for you? What are the plans?
So most of our plans around growth are really for the sake of our staff and not for the sake of growth for growth's sake. I think that we recognize that if a business isn't moving forward and it's not exciting, then it feels like a dead-end opportunity and people look elsewhere. So a lot of our growth is about developing people and trying to create leadership opportunities for them, but also responding to the demand that we continue to get in areas that we don't service. So for instance, we get a lot of inquiries in Howard County and Baltimore County, Anne Arundel, Prince George's County. Those are all areas that we typically don't go into, and there's a lot of opportunity that's ripe for the taking. So the next 3 to 4 years we anticipate opening 2 more offices, so that we can better service those areas in a way that isn't cost prohibitive, and it allows us to kind of expand a little bit more into the Baltimore market. We're really excited about that.
That's exciting.
It is.
Expansion and growth is exciting. Yeah.
And if it works out, then we will have tested it 3 or 4 times at that point, and then we can, the sky's the limit if we want it to be. So
that's wonderful. Good for you.
Thanks.
So for those that don't know about the junk removal business, can you tell us, what it is that you guys do, maybe the step process, and a description that realtors can use for that too?
In its simplest form, people hire us to go into their properties. We're the muscle to pick up and remove the unwanted items. Those items can range from anything, the largest item that you have in your home, such as a large armoire or a hot tub, or any kind of bulky item that you wouldn't have the muscle or truck space to remove on your own, down to the smallest item like a paperclip. and basically everything in between. So you think of us almost like a professional moving company, that's fully insured to go into your property. But we don't do door-to-door moves. We just get rid of your stuff. And we charge based on volume, so it's based strictly on how much space the items occupy on the truck bed. It's not based on man hours or weight or anything of that nature. So it's prorated. We only charge for what we take away.
Tell us about the process. Like, what do you do with those items when it's done?
This is when we always get excited, because this is really our value proposition. This is our differentiator. The 1, 2, 3 represents 1, donate, 2, recycle, 3, dispose. In this industry, what typically happens is you load up the truck, you go to the local dump or transfer station, landfill, you dispose of it, and you move on with your day. We've chosen to complicate that process quite a bit by adding a few additional steps, but frankly, it's probably a good bit of the reason that we've experienced the success that we've had is because people like the fact that we don't just go to the landfill. We have a process for thinning out the items, sorting it, staging it, inventorying the items, and then offering our charity partners and recycling partners the opportunity to claim the items, and then we'll coordinate the delivery or the pickup of those items from those charities. And if we're successful, we can itemize a receipt, send that back to the client as proof that the items didn't just end up in the landfill. So there's
That's
quite
fantastic.
a bit more that goes on the back end, quite a bit more headache that's associated with it, but really that's the core of sort of what makes us different and what makes us tick.
So tell me about the composition of your business. Like, I know you work a lot on referral with agents. How do you market? Do you advertise? What's your core?
So, we take great pride that we're a referral business. Without context, that might not have meaning, but I always say that, when you're a referral business, you kind of get what you deserve, because you don't get referred if you don't do good work. If you do great work, the referrals come in. And we've always had this position of almost anti-traditional marketing, anti-establishment when it comes to the way to get business. We believe in building relationships one at a time. It's a slower process because we're not generating leads from the end user. We're a little bit more focused on the folks who put us in touch, whose clients are the end user, and making them our cheerleaders so that we're extending our sales team. And that's a slow game because, as you know, it takes a long time for people to earn your trust, and it doesn't take long for them to lose your trust. And so for that reason, we're proud to be a referral business, and we hope that we can always sort of maintain that as our core. About 60% of our business comes from word-of-mouth referral.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. Congratulations on achieving that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Why should realtors work with you and your team?
So first of all, we help realtors declutter their homes. We help them sell. We help them show and sell quickly and for top dollar. I'm not in the real estate business, but I think most realtors would agree that a decluttered home is more attractive to a potential buyer. So that's the long and short of it. We can come in either at the beginning of the appointment as the home is just getting listed, or we can come in at the end as cleanup duty. A lot of times we're the last vendor and the last contractor in the home to do the clean out before they turn the keys over to the new owner. So there's a lot of different scenarios in which somebody might require our services, but I think the realtors who understand our value proposition tend to have an easier time marketing our services to their clients and getting them on board when their clients know that there's an opportunity for their items to live on through our charity partners and not just end up in the landfill.
So Colin, how should a realtor frame that conversation with their client about your services?
So I think the fact that our name has the word junk in it can be a little misleading. And sometimes it's a sensitive conversation to suggest to a client that their items are junk. And we would always discourage people from going down that path. We like to think of ourselves almost as a asset relocation company. We can do the junk stuff, and we're not scared of the dirtiest job that you could imagine, but we're always looking to find a home for our items. And the charities that we choose to work with always have very great causes that benefit the community. So we always encourage people to lead with that. If you don't want to pay a moving company, or if you don't have the space for it, or if you don't want to bring it to the new property, if you want a fresh start, we can be sort of a one-stop shop for you. And we have enough relationships with charity partners, we have enough resources that we can make sure that the appropriate things go to the appropriate places. And since we only charge for what we take away, it's prorated, it's simple, it's very straightforward, and we're in and out in a lot less headache than a client would be able to do it on their own.
That's great. So I love what you do with the items afterward. What made you decide to reallocate the assets and do it the way you've done it? Like what was that progression like? Like how did you decide to do that?
So I actually had a personal experience when I was in my former job working for the moving company. I was fresh out of college. I had old college pots and pans and dishes that it was just one box worth of stuff that I had every intention of taking to a Goodwill or a Salvation Army, and I put it in a box in the trunk of my car, and I ended up driving around with it for 3 months.
I think a lot of people could probably relate to that.
In hindsight, I'm sure the value of the items was pretty low, and the charities probably weren't too excited even to have them. But I remember going through that mental exercise that I didn't want to just throw those in the trash. They had meaning, they had value at one point for me. I thought that they would have value for somebody else, and they were cluttering up my trunk. So I'm not someone who was particularly over the top extreme with the donation or the recycling component, at least at that stage in my life. And I was going through that, so I figured most people, especially people with more valuable stuff than my ratty college pots and pans, would probably have that same sort of mental struggle when it came to getting rid of unwanted stuff. So we figured if we focused on that, it was an opportunity that was being missed by some of the other competitors in our space, and we thought that it would be a success. And so far it's turned out to be a good strategy for us.
All right, so you do a lot of referral business. Tell us, why did you choose to partner with DC Metro Real Producers?
So our model for developing business has always been about sort of like not shoving the idea of junk removal down someone's throat. You either see the value in our services or you don't. And for that reason, like the way that we build business is not to try to like manipulate somebody into thinking that we're solving a pain point for them. We want them to be aware of us, know that we exist, and if and when the time comes that we can provide value to them and their clients, we're the person they think of. DC Real Producers provides us access to people who are the best in their business, and I've always believed that if you want to be successful, you got to rub elbows with the people who are successful in their space, especially if it's in a synergistic industry. Real estate is our niche. That's the industry that we enjoy developing relationships, and I think through the platform that you provide for us, it gives us access to people that we wouldn't otherwise have access to. But it suits us well because we're not hard selling anybody. We're just trying to build relationships over time, and having a glass of wine with somebody at a networking event and talking about everything but junk removal, in my opinion, is the best way to grow business. So your platform allows us to do that in ways that we wouldn't be able to do it on our own.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you as part of our platform too.
Thanks.
What is like one myth that you can dispel about the junk removal industry for realtors?
Well, at the end of the day, I think business is business, and we always look forward, we cherish the opportunity to go in and really knock someone's socks off. And in the junk removal business, junk removal is not a very sexy industry. And I think people have low expectations about who and what quality of individual is coming into their home and how professional they're going to be. We always joke that they assume that we're going to be spitting tobacco and cursing like sailors. And our objective, we always say that our competitors are not the other junk removal businesses, but all the other experiences that our clients have had, all the other services that have come and provided some sort of a value to them, we're competing against them. The great part about having low expectations is that it's easier to impress them, and so our objective is to really over-impress them. So they say, that was the junk removal business, but they seem to have got it right. They thought of everything, and that was a much better experience than I expected. So I guess the myth to dispel is that just because you're hiring a company that's blue collar and sends guys out who aren't scared to get their hands dirty doesn't mean that you can't provide the same level of professionalism that you get in any other sort of business transaction.
What's a tip that you would give others that has helped you succeed in working with realtors?
So a very basic one is just keeping the realtor in the loop. We get a lot of referrals from a lot of different realtors, and I've been on the referring side of a lot of transactions where somebody has completed some form of services for somebody that I referred to them, and I didn't hear about it from anybody. Maybe I heard about it from the person I referred them to, but just keeping them in the loop, letting them know how it goes, especially if it doesn't go well. One of the things we're very careful about is promising that every job will go perfectly swell. In our line of work, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Walls can get nicked, we can show up late into an arrival window, and so obviously we do everything in our power to make it right, make the customer come out on the other end very happy and feel like we've done everything in our power to take care of them. But regardless of whether or not the job went well or it didn't go well, making sure that the realtor finds out about it from us one way or the other, and they find out about it from us first.
As you've grown and expanded, what's a great success tip for other businesses as you're expanding and growing and getting bigger?
So I think there's a few. First and foremost, it's hiring good people. You're only as good as your staff, and we've learned this the hard way, because I remember eras where our team wasn't so good, and the headache and hair pulling that created for me and some of the senior members of the team. When you have good people and they're buying into your core values, it just makes everything so much easier. It doesn't require the need to micromanage. You can cut them loose and trust that even if they make mistakes, they're willing to learn, and generally they're not going to be as bad. So people are everything. Even when it's in the junk business, you're only as good as
your people.
We have a rule where we hire people and they have to be at least at the 50th percentile of our quality. So we wouldn't hire anyone who's not above the 50th percentile of our current staff. So for that reason, we're always improving. So another tip is just showing gratitude for the jobs that you get. A single job nowadays probably, if we're not careful, doesn't mean as much to us as it did back in the day when we were doing 4 or 5 jobs in a week. And so with success, you have this tendency to take referrals for granted. And we always have to constantly step back and remind ourselves that everybody who refers us is essentially putting their reputation on the line. And they feel strongly enough about our services that they're willing to recommend us to somebody. And so just keeping them in the loop, but just being grateful, following up and thanking them genuinely.
Novo Real Producers, you heard it here with Colin Wheeler with 123 Junk, and it's been an honor being here. Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for coming.
Absolutely. Have a great day, guys. You've heard it from DC Metro Real Producers.